you probably want to be able to assemble your own environments. So I'm going to give you now a little bit of an explanation on how to go step by step with assembling your own personal Elvish house. This might be a little bit complicated, it might seem a little bit complicated, but it is actually very simple. It's just a little all over the place at the moment because that was the only way we could lay things out in the content folder. So we want to make a house. Let's start with the foundations. So we would go here into exterior floor, and this will be basically the elevation we need to set our scene up. I'm going to go for a specific house, a kind of house that has a ceiling or slash roof going on all 4 sides. So before we do that, let's just actually go to our assembly of 4 different roof directions, which is over here, tiled quad. We can just drag and drop that into the scene, and now we have a quad pointing roof. I don't really know what the right terminology for this is. I'm not an architect, so yeah, this was a little bit of a mission for me to figure out, but hopefully you guys will be able to bear with me. So now we have our tiled roof in there, but we see also that if we look underneath, we have some poking through happening. So now that is why we go back and we go into interior construction, or is it exterior construction? There we go. I apologize. I do not even know how my own project works. And now we just move that into place. We should actually just copy this and paste it in here so we have the exact same values, and just lower that until it fits in the right spot. Now we have a ceiling and we have a roof. Do not worry about these protrusions because we are going to be using vaulted ceilings in order to hide those. All your ceilings are meant to be used with these vaulted ceilings that I will show you now. Now, this is the main issue or potential issue that users can have with assembling their own houses. These vaulted ceiling systems are very, very odd to use. My reasoning for this is because, you know, this is Elvish architecture. We don't really know how elves build things, and also I am not an architect. I don't know how people build things. So I went and improvised as much as I could, or adapted as much as I could, and this was the way I figured things out. So in here you will find BB Construction Assembly Vaulted Ceiling Single Corner. It's a mouthful, but trust me on this. The reason why you want to use specifically the one with corner in it is because we have corners on these ceilings. So let us put these in position. I already trimmed them for you, so they should fit perfectly into your ceiling. So just align them up and then get that point towards the center. You can actually take them up a little bit until there, and now you just lower them until there's no more clipping from the top. Great. Now you're going to see a gap in there, but don't worry, that gap is meant to be there, because now what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate, invert. I have disabled my uniformity scale so that we can easily flip back and forth between directions. And now we have a vaulted ceiling for our quad assembled roof. But now we have more issues. What are we going to do with the walls? What are we going to be doing with these things over here? And luckily now this is what we can use some of my bigger assemblies for. We always want to go for something vaulted if you don't want to assemble it from scratch, and we have a bunch of vaulted ceilings here. Now these ceilings are more for straight roof settings, and you have a bunch of different options. You can use one like this that does not have a ceiling, which is probably what we want to use because we already have a ceiling, but you'll see that we don't have a lot of space for another ceiling. So maybe we should choose one that has a ceiling and a roof attached to it as well. So that one was Vaulted Interior 02 Bare. So let's see Vaulted Interior 2 with Facade. This one looks good. Or this one with Facade 3. This one has a balcony and a front facade and vaulted ceilings with pillars and everything attached. So this one looks good. Let's go ahead and use this one. I'm going to attach it on this side. And let's see if that works. First thing I'm going to do is I'm also going to raise this until the floor is raised, and that looks good. And now we move this into position and we select everything from here. We can just box select and select the ceiling, and now we should be able to move that into place. There's a couple of rule of thumbs you can use here now. First things first is I'm going to remove the selection outline, because the selection outline always interferes with where I can see my seams are. So let's keep an eye on the roof tiles and let's move it until the roof tiles align, just like so. Wonderful. And now with that we can see on the inside that our ceilings align as well. Nice. You can maybe use it, move it slightly to the left, or maybe not. If there is an issue like this, you can always just move the ceilings you placed a little bit to the side. And squish them a little bit, or squish the bigger ceiling. Lovely. And now we can do the same for the other side, or let's assemble something from scratch for this side as well. So let's attach a facade without a vaulted interior. So let's find them over here and let's go for facade number 1. This is the one with the door. So just to show that to you again, this specific assembly is just the facade alone, no interior, just the ceiling, the roof, and the doors. And if you move that into position again, you will see that you have some space in here. The reason I'm choosing to use this one is because I want to show you guys how to fill up these spaces over here. So, same as last time, let's move them until the tiles line up. And let's just drop it a little bit lower. Just like that. Wonderful. Now, let's throw in some vaulted ceilings. We're not going to be using blueprints now, or we are. Yes, we are going to be using blueprints. Let me just check if this is the correct one. Yes. So, next to the one with corner, you can see the corner at the very end, you have one that is called straight. This one is for these standard roof assemblies, the ones that are just straight from the front to the back. This is what you would use to perfectly align your ceilings with whatever else you want to put in the scene. So, same as last time, let's move them into position. We can now also use the center corner tiles, the center corner vaulted ceilings as a reference, and we can move these in place, and we can duplicate, invert, and place. That is aligning pretty nicely, and duplicate it one more time, and squish these guys in there. And we can shrink them a little bit just to make them fit. Excellent. And now we have another selection of vaulted ceilings attached. Now, we see on this side that we have some walls and some pillars. So what do we do about that on this side? Well, there's a number of different options you can do. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to find myself a platform. Select that static mesh filter, and there we go, wall extension platform. I'm going to be using this one, and I'm going to drag and drop it right in here until it merges with the vaulted ceiling feet or pillars or supports or whatever you would call that. Make sure it doesn't protrude from the other side, shrink that in, and once again squeeze them in there. Nice. Now we have this gap over here. So what do we do about this issue? This is where we use something I call the concealing merger. We have a long one, we have a short one, and we have one for corners as well. And then we also have a big one. This one is what you see over here. This is if you don't want to use a platform to separate the top from the bottom, and you just want one big wall to go from floor to ceiling. But we are not going to be using that because we do want a platform. So let us drop in the short one. Let's rotate it until it fits 90 degrees. Perfect. If you're never sure about where exactly it should fit, just move it back and forth until it starts clipping with the roof or the ceiling, and then you have the right spot. A rule of thumb is to use the vaulted ceilings. The vaulted ceilings are cut off at a very nice angle there, so you can actually move it down a little bit more, but we're just going to keep it over there. This can actually go a little bit up. Don't worry about a gap coming in there because we are going to be using a beam to hide and offset that little gap. So this is just to make sure that we lower down the clipping from the top. There we go. And there we go. There's also going to be a separation that we're going to be putting in here to hide that. We can also lower this just like so. Wonderful. And it all still aligns perfectly well with everything else in the scene. Cool. So now, as I said before, use the vaulted ceilings as a rule of thumb until they don't clip anymore, or until there's no more gaps. And once those gaps are solid, you can use the platform to put it there, to put the platform there until it matches the balcony or the bottom of the feet. And then you can drop the concealing merger in there, and you can move it back and forth until it merges or until it flows very nicely with the vaulted ceiling trims, these guys over here. And once they poke out like that, then you're good to go. We can also move the ceiling a little bit more up, just to get rid of that. Let's just make sure that it is the same on all sides. And there we go. And it is not protruding. Oh, it's protruding slightly. We can fix that by moving the ceiling, by moving the roof tiles up a little bit more. Wonderful. Now with this floor, this wall, we can duplicate it, invert it, and put it on that side as well. And we can drag and drop, we can drag and duplicate, or duplicate and drag the platform, drop that in there, and now we are good to go. Let's duplicate this and use it for all the other three sides as well. So let's select our facade, which is this selection over here, the platform, the concealing walls, this and the ceiling, no, not the ceiling, and that should be okay, and then the vaulted ceilings as well. There we go. Now we can duplicate that, rotate by 90 degrees, and move them into position. Same as before, align the tiles, and now we have the same going on here as well. Excellent. Now we have interiors that fit and align, and they align and fit on the exteriors as well. Don't worry about the decals right now, we will fix that later on. Great, and now we need to do it one more time for the opposite. Make sure the interior works as well. And yes, that is working beautifully. Look at that alignment. Wonderful. Now, I'm going to show you some other problems that we're going to be having right now. Notably, these guys over here. We have some issues with the roofs poking through, and we don't want that. That's ugly, so we're going to fix that. First of all, though, let's just get another floor extension in there, and just drop it slightly so there's no clipping. Actually, we can move that forward. Why not? And on the other side as well. And now it's starting to come together. In order to prevent this auto exposure from keeping on going back and forth, let's drop in a point light. If you still have this issue on here, I would say just disable the nanite, because that is giving some issues. It is low poly enough, the vaulted ceilings are low poly enough that they won't affect your scene if it remains without nanite. Great, now we see that there are some floors here, so let's drop a nice big floor. We have a bunch of selections that we can use here. Let's go for the more square tiled one. And like I said earlier, it's kind of funny how the elves have actually very modern looking tiles, so don't freak out when you see a very modern looking tile. It was a design choice. Should we use that? Yeah, let's scale that down a little bit, make it fit. Great, now, how about these parts over here though? This is going to be a problem. Well, let's tackle that on. That should be pretty easy to do. We can just go in here and drop in one of my interior walls, in interior wall rectangle. You have another one which is a square for a more larger coverage, but we don't need that, we just need the small rectangular one. Wonderful. Now, I'm going to show you a different option we can do as well. These ones will need a little bit more coverage, and we already have an interior wall, so what do we do about that part? Okay, well, what we're going to do there is we're going to be going for the similar thing that is used over here. This one is that very large concealing wall that I showed you, which looks like this. This one comes with the top concealer part enabled, and once again, you just move that until it fits with the wall. Let's just delete that previous single concealer and move this guy in until it flows with the vaulted ceiling trim.
For reference, I'm looking at this part over here, making sure that aligns and fits. Excellent.
But that is still giving some issues. No worries. All we need to do then is just hide that
with some more interior walls, like so. And we can go back in there and we can find one of our bigger walls, move that in there, scale it up or not, and just drag and duplicate this guy in there as well. This is going to interfere with the window, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it off there and just move it in there until it fits this part. And let's just move that concealer a little bit to the right. Just make sure it doesn't interfere with anything. Nice.
So this is part of the fun about it. We see that this thing is not really working anymore, and now it's obsolete because we don't see that user light utilizing the bottom part anymore. So let's go back. Let's drop in our concealer, and we can actually move it a little bit forward. And right now with this one we're having some problems there, so we just go into the blueprint, just click on here, and then when you click on there, you can actually go in and individually manipulate the assets inside your blueprint. So let's just move it until there's no more weird clipping, just like so. Lovely. And now we can move this forward again. We're going to move this until it doesn't interfere with the roof anymore. We'll place a beam there to help offset that gap. And now we can also extend it a little bit more until it completely covers that gap that we were having in there, in there earlier. We can move this out again, just until so that it merges nicely with these interior walls on this side. Make sure they line up, and there we go. Let us just scale this floor, or move it out a little bit until it fills the gaps by the walls. Excellent. And now we have that corner nice and included. This side has a corner nice and included. This side is luckily not broken at all, so again we can just
do what we did here, rotate by 90 degrees, and move it into position.
And on this side, we do the same that we did previously. Selected, move it until it doesn't occlude here anymore, and we can just see the actual things we want there. And now we can select this guy, whoops, duplicate it, move it into position. And there we go. And now we have our entire second floor nice and optimized and fixed up. Except for this side. Let's do that side quickly.
Use our concealer. Let's see what happens if we, instead of extending, we just duplicate it. Shrink it a little bit. And duplicate it. Lovely. And now it is set on both sides, except on this one. So let's do the same here. Let's first move it in there to cover that hole, and then we duplicate it again. And we scale it down until we finally have it all set up.
And now we have a working interior vault that we can now start doing what we want to do with it, whatever we want to do with it.
There we go. Ah, I keep on finding holes. This one is a little bit different. Aha, there we go. That's what these were for. Smooth that up. And again, go into the blueprint and select your asset. Basically, you click on your blueprint, then you click on one of these guys in here under the details, and then you can click on them anywhere in the viewport, and then it'll select the individual blueprint. Ah, and we see we have some clipping in there, which is not fun, but luckily, the other wall we have here fills it up nicely.
So now we are all set. We have some platforms separating floors.
You can just move this one a little bit more closer to us. You can also move it or shrink it away from that pillar so we don't get some weird clipping on the pillar. And on this side it doesn't really matter that much. But what we can do is just shrink it so that there is no clipping. Move it in a little bit. And we scale it up until it fits again. Just like so, and just like so. And same with this one. Let's move it in and scale it in until we don't have to worry about layered geometry.
And there we go. Now this is starting to look like something. And now we can start building the second floor as well as the support arches. So there's a number of different support arches we can use. I like using this one, especially for this specific example, because we are going to be dealing with a lot of corners. So let's go to a corner spot in the first place. Let's move it in there. Drop it in there, get it to the corner. And now we just move it in position. Because they are not really set up with a seam, because this it's had to be set up this way, you just want to offset them slightly on the x-axis, so that you can layer them like this and not have to worry about that. There was an option of creating a cap for those, but then that's just going to be another element that you have to keep on moving into place. And that'll just end up being too much of a micro assembly that artists would have to keep in mind. So there we go. And now we can move these guys in here as well. And now I'm going to show you what to do, or what I like to do in my situation, where we have these guys overlapping like this. And it's a pretty simple trick. How far can these guys go out still? That should do it. Let us just move this one slightly. I do want these to show a little bit more forward, just like that. And now what we can do is we can use this corner occluder, which is specifically made to hide geometry flow, like this exact example. Scale it until it fits, move it in, and now we have this, which looks a lot more natural and like it is actually functional. We can also scale them on the x-axis so that they don't clip on the other sides. Excellent. And another one for the inside, like so. And now we drop in some pillars. There's a number of different pillar selections you can use from here. I like this one, especially for these arches. And just scale them until they fit. As looking a little squishy. Move them into position. And there we go. And we get them into all the other spots. Now, I obviously made the wrong choice of selecting the facade with the windows, because now we have a bunch of pillars blocking the windows. But that is just the part of playing with a new environment. You get to figure out these things as you go along. Like you might have to use one of the other facades that doesn't have windows in there, like maybe the one with the balcony. So there we go. And now we can do the same for this side. Rotate 90 degrees. Move it into position. And there we go. Excellent.
Yeah, that's fine. Or maybe we can remove this pillar, but then we have a floating arch. So let's move that pillar back into position. And now we select everything that we just placed. And we duplicate it. Rotate by 90 degrees. Let's focus that in. And I forgot to load my corner occluder. 90 degrees. And place it in. And now we select them again. Apologies for that. Oh no, wait. We only need this part. And we can just whoosh. And just move this guy to the front. Let's see what we can do here. Again, just the magic of that occluder. And let's see if we can blend these pillars together. Nice. Let's scale them in just a little bit so that they can fit. And if you want to, you can drop another pillar over here for this guy. You can use one of the other ones. This one is an old one, I don't like using this one. Or you can use this one. But right now, I think that's fine. And now let's duplicate. And we do the same for the other side. We don't need to bother with rotating, we can just move the assets over. And there we go. And now it's starting to come together nicely.
And now we can build ourselves a little bit of an interior. So, I'm going to be using this part over here, and we're going to drop in a floor. But we also want to make sure the floor has a ceiling attached to it as well, which is what we can find here, the ceiling plus floor in the construction assemblies. This is literally just a floor with some ceiling beams attached to them as well. So let's scale that down. And let's drop that into the scene. We can shrink that up a little bit as well again. And we can move it until it makes sense. Let's put it over here. Let's move a little bit down. Or we can move it up. Just like that. And we can duplicate it. And now again on that side, we're going to be dragging and dropping another platform. And let's move this until it fills the gap of these pillars. And now we don't have to worry about this piece over here floating because we have supports that make sense again. Just like that. And on the other side as well. Fantastic. And now we want to put in some stairs, because that is the only way you can get to the top. And that is where these guys come in. One of my favorite stairs that I've ever made. I love how this came out. Just check the bottom. You see that it's a little bit dipped below the floor. So let's move it up until it sits properly. And we see how it connects here. You see that's a little bit too high, so we just shrink it down. That's still a little too high. There we go. Make sure it's properly laid out. All gaps are filled, and it makes sense. Wonderful. Let's just increase the source radius of this thing. Let's put it up to 20. Just so we can get rid of any harsh shadows that we might find. Let's move that a little bit to the left so it fits in nicely. And wonderful. Now we have a nice big staircase in the center of our elven house. And now we can go ahead and just do what else we want to do. Now we have little hallways in between these vaulted ceilings, and they all flow nicely, and that can lead to more floors assemblies. So if we want to put one of the other floors, let's see what other floor we have. Oh wait, that is a blueprint. There we go. Let's go for raised floor number 2. And we can drop it just right over there. And now we can do things like putting in these fence posts, or just fences. There's a fence post for you. You can scale it down, and then you can just drop these fence posts in. If it looks like they don't match properly with your dimensions, easy peasy, you just scale them down until they fit. And let's add another one on that side. Wonderful. And now we can duplicate the same floor, or let's choose a different one. We already have that one. Aha. Let's try this one. Let's copy those same scale values, put them in there. Easy peasy. Rotate it 90 degrees and move that one in there as well. And now we have another floor. And now with this one, we can drag and drop our rounded floor. I like this one. This adds a nice little unique effect into your scene. Let's just scale it until it matches the size of our straight floor. Move it a little bit in, and now it flows nicely. And for this one, I specifically made this little curved railing. Maybe it doesn't need to be that flat, but we just needed the right X and Y values. And now that is in position, and we are starting to get a very nice result. Cool, but let's move away from just the interior construction and let's make sure that all the other trims and stuff is sorted as well. Right now the ceiling is looking a little bit empty, so let's drag and drop in some beams. Let's rotate it by 90 degrees. And let's start to hustle up finishing this, because this video is starting to take really long. It was not meant to be this long. I am sorry, guys. So this will help to offset some of these details up top. Lovely. And now we're going to do the same for the 90-degree angle as well. Match it with that already existing beam and take it to the other side as well. Excellent. But now what do we do about these big seams? And that is easy. We have this guy called the vaulted ceiling cutoff, and that is specifically made for those seams that we see. And they are meant to just go like this. You can line them up easily over there, as you see. Just bring them in until they get merged with the beams. We can maybe fatten up these beams a little bit, or move them down, just until they clip through these cutoffs. And then we can use these cutoffs to add a nice little trim on all these seams. Move it a little bit forward until it hides that ugly clipped or jagged geometry. Move it a little bit to the left, and there we go. You can also move them to the edge of that balcony, just so it cuts off nicely at the balcony as well. And let's do the same for the other side. And again by the balcony. And again, rotate by 90 degrees. Move them in. And again by the balcony. Excellent. Now what else can we do? Well, maybe we can add some chandeliers. Where are my chandeliers? So from here on out, you can just basically add any kind of decoration you want. I usually like going in for lights right now. This point light is a little bit too strong for that ceiling. Whoops, I duplicated it. So let's move it down a little bit until it will occlude nicely with the chandelier. Let's change the light value to something a little bit more orange. Just get some desaturation in there, just so it's not so saturated. Oh, that is still very saturated. And let's go for lower light value. That's nice. And attenuation. Yeah, let's keep the attenuation radius low for now, so that we can have some more room for other lights to put in as well. A nice quick little thing now to drag and drop into the scene are some of my furniture assemblies. There's a lot you can choose from here. I usually like starting with the dining table, although I don't really know what kind of building this would be. So we can use a dining table, we can use a living room setup. Where are my living room setups? Let's put a living room setup here. There we go. Will they fit? Oh no, they don't fit. Let's move them. Can we move them up? Aha. Let's drop them in there. There we go. That looks nice and cozy. Let's move them closer to the balcony. And there we go. Maybe we can have a little chess table up here. And yes, elves do play chess. Chess is part of Middle-earth. And what about a bed up here? Let's drop in a bed there. Let's angle it towards the other side. And now for this one, we can have a wardrobe. The wardrobes do have doors that open and close, and the wardrobes have interiors as well. I just don't have any Elvish clothes for you, I'm sorry. Why can I not select? There we go. And maybe we also want to put in some library bookshelves. And maybe we want a little breakfast nookie for the happy couple who lives in this little mini palace. Oh no, we can't have them fall through that gap. So now we have a little breakfast nook. Maybe a little seating area. There's no space for this right now. So let's put these guys somewhere at the bottom. Oh my goodness, I am so sorry. Aha. Right there. And maybe some more seating areas. That's a big carpet. Maybe it should be like that. Which leaves space for a sideboard. Let's leave it skew like that. It's fun. And you kind of get the idea. You can just drag and drop whatever you want to put in the scene according to your heart's desire. And now, my favorite part, drapes. Oh, the drapes. Where are my drapes? You have a lot of drape selections you can place, and you can just find any ledge and you can just drop them in there and they will work. So there's one. Maybe let's flip him. Oh, there we go. Oh, I almost had my engine just crash. Let's put something with an arch in there as well. Nah, not that one. Let's go for, where's my flat arch? There we go. Nice. And the lovely thing about these drapes is they have a full subsurface scatter effect applied to them. So if you have a light behind your curtains, then they will give a very nice subsurface scatter result. And you see a nice little bit of light glowing through as well. Especially if you try out one of the bigger, more flat ones. And you can see the light coming through at the bottom. So yeah, so a lot of very gorgeous lighting opportunities that those drapes will provide you then. And we have a little rod for them as well. Just search rod and place yourself a curtain rod in there. Just make sure it matches. Oh no, you gotta scale these guys down. There we go. Just make sure they don't float. One for them and one for that one. And yeah, hopefully this is helping everyone. I think I'm going to call it there. After this, you know, you can use either the assemblies or you can use some of the many assets we have in here. There are over 214 items in the prop section alone, and they should hopefully give you guys plenty of variety to do whatever you feel like you want to do with your interiors. And let's not forget the miscellaneous section as well. Let's put in a giant plant. What about a banquet table? Where's my banquet table? Aha. Will this fit? Yeah. Oh, if your emissive on the banquet table is too high, just go in here. The banquet stone table will have an emissive thingy. That is just to get the marbling a little bit more prominent. And you just lower that down until you are happy with it. And now let's get rid of this post-process volume automatic exposure. What I like to do is just go in here and do this simple trick. Minimum brightness, maximum brightness to 1, 1 to 1, and then you can just move this until you are happy with your results. Outside is a bit bright, so let's put it to 3. That's a little bit too harsh. Let's put it 2.5. Still a bit harsh. Let's just go 2. That's better. And now our interiors look like they're a little bit dark, but now that just means we have all the more opportunity for nice, powerful lights, or just a lot of lights in the scene. Like imagine that point light now going down to where these candles are, or by the banquet table, or up here by the bed frame. Just make sure all your point lights are set to movable so this flashing doesn't happen. And if they still happen, then just make sure your collision don't overlap with the other point lights. Let's try and check out some of the other lamps. Let's use my chain lamp, and it will let us hook them up here on these cutoffs. And basically the gist of this is, this was just to show you how you can use and build a house from scratch. But if you are lazy like me a lot of times, then you don't have to make something from scratch. That is what the big assemblies are for. So you can use some of these mega assemblies, or you can go in here again and you can use a lot of these construction assemblies, or you can make something from scratch if you are not lazy. But what you can also do, oh, I forgot about this. If you want to hide those exterior walls, you just go into here and you can look for exterior wall rectangular or exterior wall square. We only need a rectangular one, so just move that into position. Make sure it doesn't clip. It clips a little bit. You can just move it in, or you can scale it. Doesn't really matter. Just make sure that there is no overlapping geo. Lovely. And yeah, so let's go ahead and save this. I'm gonna make a new folder. No, not in mesh. Levels. I'm gonna call this quad house assembly. And now we can go into whatever new environment we create, and we can just drag and drop everything we built in this scene into our new environment. Great. I hope this helped you guys out. And if there are still any further questions, feel free to comment in the comment section, and I will try and respond from my own account. Or we will most probably upload another explanation video if users are still having a lot of trouble with working around the scene. Great, guys. Thank you very much. I hope everyone enjoyed watching this. I hope everyone endured watching this. And I hope everyone manages and finds themselves very capable of using our environment that we built for you guys. And we hope you guys create amazing things out of it, and we cannot wait to see what you guys do with it. Awesome. Thank you very much, everyone. Oh my goodness, this thing is still keeping on flickering. Anyway, goodbye everyone, and thank you very much for watching.